Isabel Reed lay in bed, her eyes fixed on the ceiling as she listened to the sound of her own heartbeat. It was a sound that seemed to grow louder with each passing moment, a reminder of the secrets she kept hidden. She slowly sat up, her gaze drifting to the man lying beside her. Jason Marsh, her husband's best friend. A man who had become her lover, her confidant, and her worst mistake. Their affair had started innocently enough. A flirtation, a spark, a moment of weakness. But it had quickly spiraled out of control, consuming them both with its intensity. Isabel's phone buzzed on the nightstand, breaking the silence. She hesitated for a moment before picking it up, her heart sinking as she read the message. "Dinner tonight. Just us. I love you." It was from her husband, Liam, a man who had no idea what was going on right under his nose. Isabel felt a wave of guilt wash over her, followed by a sense of panic. She had to keep her secret hidden no matter what. She turned to Jason, who was watching her with an amused expression. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice low and husky. Isabel forced a smile, trying to play it cool. "Just Liam. He wants to have dinner tonight." Jason raised an eyebrow. "And?" Isabel shrugged. "I don't know. I'll just have to play it by ear." Jason nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "You're good at that, Isabel. Playing it cool, I mean." Isabel felt a shiver run down her spine as Jason's gaze seemed to bore into her soul. She knew that she was walking a thin line, one that could easily snap and send her tumbling into the abyss. But for now, she was safe. And that was all that mattered. The next day, Isabel received another message, this one from an unknown number. "I know what you did. If you want to keep your happy little life, pay up." Isabel's heart stopped as she read the message. Who was this? And how did they know? She tried to brush it off as a prank, but the message lingered in her mind, refusing to be ignored. As the days went by, the messages continued, each one more threatening than the last. Isabel was trapped in a living nightmare, with no escape in sight. And then there was a knock at the door. A letter slid underneath, containing a picture of Isabel and Jason together. The message was simple: "Tell your husband the truth, or I will." Isabel's world came crashing down around her. She was caught, and she knew it. In a desperate bid to save herself, Isabel agreed to meet the blackmailer in a dimly lit parking garage. As she stepped out of her car, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Melanie, Jason's ex-girlfriend. A woman who had been wronged by Jason, just like Isabel. Melanie's smile was wicked, her eyes cold. "Did you really think you could get away with it?" she spat. Isabel tried to defend herself, but Melanie was relentless. "You think you're the only one who's been hurt by Jason? You think you're special?" Isabel realized, too late, that she was in grave danger. Melanie was not just a blackmailer. She was a woman scorned. And then everything went black. When Isabel came to, she was lying in her bedroom, Jason standing over her. But something was wrong. There was a body on the floor, a knife beside it. "Melanie." Isabel's eyes widened in horror as Jason's gaze met hers. "She was going to ruin us," he said, his voice shaking. "I had no choice." Isabel stumbled backward, her mind reeling. She had to get out of there, to escape the nightmare that had become her life. But as she turned to run, she saw the police sirens outside. They were coming for her for Jason. And in that moment, Isabel knew that she had to make a choice. She could either take the fall for Jason's crime or save herself. She looked at Jason, her eyes cold. And then she made her decision. The police found Isabel standing by the window, a glass of wine in her hand. She was calm, collected. "I didn't do it," she said, her voice steady. "Jason did." The police took Jason away, leaving Isabel alone in her penthouse. She looked out the window, the city glinting below her. She had survived, but at what cost? She had lost everything: her marriage, her reputation, her soul. But she had gained something, too: her freedom. And as she raised the glass of wine to her lips, Isabel smiled. A cold, calculated smile. As she took a sip of the wine, Isabel felt a sense of calm wash over her. She had played the game of deception and won. But at what cost? She thought back to the events that had led her to this moment. The affair with Jason, the blackmail, the murder. It had all been a deadly game, and she had played it perfectly. But as she looked out the window, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She felt a chill run down her spine, and her heart began to beat faster. She turned away from the window and walked over to the phone. She dialed a number, and a voice answered on the first ring. "Hello." "It's me," Isabel said, her voice low and husky. "I need to see you." There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then the voice spoke up again. "I'll be right there." Isabel hung up the phone and walked over to the door. She opened it and stood there, waiting. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Isabel opened it and let the person in. It was a woman, tall and slender with long blonde hair. She was dressed in a black dress that hugged her curves perfectly. "Thanks for coming," Isabel said, closing the door behind the woman. The woman smiled and walked over to the bar. She poured herself a drink and then turned to Isabel. "So, what's going on?" she asked. Isabel took a deep breath and let it all out. She told the woman everything, from the affair with Jason to the murder. The woman listened intently, her eyes never leaving Isabel's face. When Isabel finished, the woman nodded thoughtfully. "I see," she said. "And what do you want me to do?" Isabel smiled, a cold and calculating smile. "I want you to help me cover my tracks," she said. "I want to make sure that no one ever finds out what really happened." The woman nodded again, a small smile playing on her lips. "I can do that," she said. "But it's going to cost you." Isabel raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you want?" she asked. The woman leaned in close, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want a share of your husband's wealth," she said. "And I want you to do something for me." Isabel's eyes narrowed, her mind racing. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. The woman smiled again, a cold and calculating smile. "I want you to kill someone," she said. Isabel's eyes widened in shock as she processed the woman's request. She had just confessed to a murder, and now she was being asked to commit another one. "Who?" Isabel asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman smiled again, seeming to enjoy Isabel's discomfort. "Someone who's been causing me problems," she said. "Someone who thinks they can take what's mine." Isabel's mind was racing as she tried to process the situation. She had thought she was done with murder, but now she was being pulled back in. "I don't know if I can do that," Isabel said, trying to stall for time. The woman's smile faltered, and for a moment, Isabel saw a glimmer of something darker beneath the surface. "You don't have a choice," the woman said, her voice cold and menacing. "You owe me, Isabel, and I always collect my debts." Isabel felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the true nature of the woman's request. This wasn't just about murder, it was about control. "What's your name?" Isabel asked, trying to stall for time. The woman smiled again, seeming to enjoy the game. "My name is Sophia," she said. "And you're going to do exactly what I say." Isabel nodded, trying to appear compliant. But inside, she was seething. She was trapped in a web of deceit and murder, and she didn't know how to escape. As Sophia turned to leave, Isabel caught her arm. "Wait," Isabel said. "What's the name of the person I'm supposed to kill?" Sophia smiled again, seeming to enjoy the suspense. "You'll find out soon enough," she said. "But for now, let's just say it's someone close to you." Isabel's eyes widened in shock as Sophia turned and walked away, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Who was Sophia talking about? And how was Isabel supposed to kill them? As she stood there, trying to process the situation, Isabel realized that she was in grave danger. She was trapped in a game of cat and mouse, and she didn't know how to escape. But she was determined to try. Isabel's mind was racing as she tried to think of a way to get out of the situation. She knew that Sophia was not someone to be trifled with, and that she would stop at nothing to get what she wanted. As she stood there, trying to think of a plan, Isabel heard a noise behind her. She turned to see Liam, her husband, standing in the doorway. "Hey, what's going on?" he asked, looking at her with concern. Isabel hesitated, unsure of what to say. She didn't want to tell Liam about Sophia and the murder, but she also didn't want to lie to him. Just a problem with work," she said finally, trying to brush it off. Liam looked at her skeptically, but he didn't push the issue. Instead, he walked over to her and put his arms around her. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," he said. Isabel felt a pang of guilt as she hugged him back. She knew that she was putting him in danger by keeping the truth from him, but she also knew that she couldn't tell him the truth. As they stood there, holding each other, Isabel knew that she had to find a way to get out of the situation. She couldn't keep living like this, constantly looking over her shoulder, waiting for Sophia to strike. But for now, she just held on to Liam, trying to savor the moment and pretend that everything was okay. The next day, Isabel received a package in the mail. Inside, she found a small note with a single sentence: "Meet me at the old warehouse at midnight." There was no signature, but Isabel knew that it was from Sophia. She felt a chill run down her spine as she realized that Sophia was not going to let her off the hook that easily. As she stood there, holding the note, Isabel knew that she had to make a decision. She could either go to the meeting and face Sophia, or she could try to run and hide. But as she looked around her, Isabel realized that she was trapped. Sophia had her right where she wanted her, and Isabel had no way out. With a sense of resignation, Isabel crumpled the note in her hand and threw it away. She knew that she had to face Sophia, no matter what the consequences might be. As the clock struck midnight, Isabel made her way to the old warehouse. She was scared, but she was also determined. She was going to face Sophia, and she was going to come out on top. As she entered the warehouse, Isabel saw Sophia standing in the shadows. She was smiling, and her eyes gleamed with a malevolent light. "Welcome, Isabel," Sophia said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I'm so glad you could make it." Isabel stood tall, trying to hide her fear. "What do you want, Sophia?" she asked. Sophia chuckled, a cold, mirthless sound. "Oh, I think you know exactly what I want," she said. "I want you to do a job for me. A job that requires a certain delicacy. Isabel's heart sank as she realized what Sophia was asking her to do. She was being asked to commit another murder, and this time it was going to be someone close to her. As she stood there, trying to process the situation, Isabel knew that she had to make a decision. She could either do the job and risk losing everything, or she could refuse and risk facing Sophia's wrath. But as she looked into Sophia's eyes, Isabel knew that she had no choice. She was trapped, and Sophia was holding all the cards. With a sense of resignation, Isabel nodded. "I'll do it," she said. Sophia smiled, a cold, triumphant smile. "I knew you would see it my way," she said. As Isabel turned to leave, Sophia called out to her. "And Isabel?" Isabel turned back, her heart sinking. "Yes?" Sophia's smile grew wider. "Don't even think about trying to double-cross me. I have eyes and ears everywhere, and if you try to betray me, you'll regret it." Isabel nodded, feeling a chill run down her spine. She knew that Sophia was not someone to be trifled with, and that she would stop at nothing to get what she wanted. As she walked away from the warehouse, Isabel knew that she was in grave danger. She was trapped in a web of deceit and murder, and she didn't know how to escape. But she was determined to try. Isabel walked away from the warehouse, her mind racing with thoughts of escape and survival. She knew that Sophia was a formidable opponent, but she also knew that she couldn't give up. As she walked, Isabel noticed a figure following her. She quickened her pace, but the figure kept pace with her. Isabel's heart was racing as she turned down a side street. The figure followed her, and Isabel could see that it was a woman. The woman was tall and slender, with long blonde hair. She was dressed in a black leather jacket and jeans, and she looked like she meant business. Isabel stopped walking and turned to face the woman. "Who are you?" she demanded. The woman smiled and pulled out a small gun. "My name is not important," she said. "What's important is that I'm here to help you." Isabel's eyes widened as she stared at the gun. "Help me?" she repeated. The woman nodded. "Yes, help you. Sophia is a monster, and she needs to be stopped. I'm here to help you take her down." Isabel's mind was racing as she tried to process the situation. She didn't know if she could trust this woman, but she also didn't have many other options. "What's your plan?" Isabel asked, trying to stall for time. The woman smiled again. "My plan is to take Sophia down no matter what it takes. And I need your help to do it." Isabel hesitated, unsure of what to do. But as she looked into the woman's eyes, she saw something there that gave her hope. Maybe, just maybe, she had found an ally in this deadly game. "Okay," Isabel said finally, nodding her head. "I'm in." The woman smiled and put away her gun. "Good," she said. "Let's get to work." Together, the two women began to formulate a plan to take down Sophia. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. As they walked away from the warehouse, Isabel felt a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in a long time. Maybe, just maybe, she was going to make it out of this alive. But as they turned the corner, Isabel saw something that made her blood run cold. Sophia was standing on the sidewalk, a smile on her face. And she was not alone. "Ladies," Sophia said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I see you're getting acquainted. How nice." Isabel's heart sank as she realized that Sophia had been expecting her. And she had a plan to take care of Isabel and her new ally once and for all. Sophia's eyes gleamed with amusement as she took in the scene before her. "I must say, I'm impressed," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I didn't think you had it in you, Isabel." Isabel's eyes narrowed as she tried to read Sophia's expression. What was she planning? Sophia's gaze flicked to the woman standing beside Isabel. "And who is this?" she asked, her voice dripping with curiosity. The woman stepped forward, her eyes locked on Sophia. "My name is Rachel," she said, her voice firm. "And I'm here to help Isabel take you down." Sophia's smile grew wider. "Ah, how quaint," she said. "You think you can take me down? I've been playing this game for years, ladies. I always come out on top." Rachel's eyes flashed with anger, but Isabel put a hand on her arm, holding her back. "Not yet," she whispered. Sophia's eyes gleamed with amusement. "Oh, I see," she said. "You're waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Well, let me tell you, ladies, that moment is never going to come." With a sudden movement, Sophia pulled out a small device from her pocket and pressed a button. The sound of sirens filled the air, and Isabel's heart sank. "What have you done?" Rachel demanded, her eyes blazing with anger. Sophia's smile grew wider. "I've called the police," she said. "And I've told them that you two are the ones who have been committing the murders." Isabel's eyes widened in horror as she realized what Sophia had done. They were trapped, and Sophia had the upper hand. But Rachel was not one to give up easily. With a sudden movement, she grabbed Isabel's arm and pulled her away from Sophia. "We have to get out of here," Rachel yelled as they ran down the street, the sound of sirens getting closer and closer. Isabel's heart was racing as she tried to keep up with Rachel. They were running out of time, and Sophia was closing in. But Isabel was determined to survive. She was determined to take Sophia down, no matter what it took. As they turned the corner, Isabel saw a glimmer of hope. A car was waiting for them, the engine running. Rachel yanked open the door and pushed Isabel inside. "Get in," she yelled. Isabel didn't need to be told twice. She scrambled into the car, Rachel following close behind. As they sped away from the scene, Isabel looked back, her eyes locked on Sophia's figure, standing in the middle of the street, a smile on her face. This was far from over. As they sped away from the scene, Isabel's mind was racing with thoughts of Sophia and her next move. She knew that Sophia would stop at nothing to get what she wanted, and Isabel was determined to stay one step ahead. Rachel glanced in the rearview mirror, her eyes scanning the road behind them. "We need to get rid of this car," she said. "Sophia will have the police looking for us." Isabel nodded, her eyes scanning the streets for a place to ditch the car. They were in a residential neighborhood, with rows of houses and trees lining the streets. Rachel turned down a side street, and Isabel spotted a parking garage up ahead. "There," she said, pointing. Rachel nodded and pulled into the garage. They abandoned the car and made their way out of the garage, blending in with the crowds of people on the street. As they walked, Isabel's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw a text from an unknown number. "You can't hide forever," the message read. Isabel's heart sank as she realized that Sophia had already found her. She showed the message to Rachel, who frowned. "We need to get out of here," Rachel said.
"Now."
They hailed a taxi and gave the driver an address on the other side of town. As they drove, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia was closing in. When they arrived at the address, Isabel saw that it was a small motel. Rachel paid the driver, and they got out of the taxi. Inside the motel room, Rachel locked the door and pulled out a small bag. "We need to change our appearance," she said. "Sophia will have our pictures everywhere." Isabel nodded, and Rachel handed her a wig and some clothes. They quickly changed, and Isabel looked at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the person staring back at her. Rachel handed her a phone. "This is a secure line," she said. "We can use it to contact our allies." Isabel took the phone, feeling a sense of hope for the first time in hours. Maybe, just maybe, they could take Sophia down after all. But as she looked at Rachel, she saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. "What is it?" Isabel asked. Rachel hesitated before speaking. "I don't think we're the only ones looking for Sophia," she said. "There's someone else out there, someone who wants Sophia just as badly as we do." Isabel's eyes narrowed. "Who?" she asked. Rachel's expression was grim. "I don't know," she said. "But I have a feeling that we're about to find out." Isabel's mind was racing with questions. Who was this mysterious person? What did they want with Sophia? And how did they fit into the larger picture? Rachel's expression was grim. "We need to be careful," she said. "We don't know what we're up against." Isabel nodded, her eyes scanning the room. She knew that they had to be vigilant, that Sophia could strike at any moment. As they waited, Isabel's thoughts turned to Liam. She wondered if he was safe, if Sophia had gotten to him yet. Rachel seemed to sense her unease. "We'll get to Liam," she said. "But first, we need to take care of Sophia." Isabel nodded, her jaw set. She was determined to see this through, to take Sophia down and clear her name. As they waited, the hours ticking by, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Sophia was closing in, and they needed to act fast. Suddenly, Rachel's phone buzzed. She answered, her expression tense. "What is it?" Isabel asked, her heart racing. Rachel's eyes locked on hers. "It's our ally," she said. "They've found Sophia's location." Isabel's heart leapt with excitement. This was it, their chance to take Sophia down. But as they prepared to leave, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that they were walking into a trap. "Rachel, wait," she said, her hand on Rachel's arm. Rachel turned, her eyes questioning. "What is it?" she asked. Isabel hesitated, unsure of how to articulate her doubts. But before she could speak, the door burst open, and Sophia stood before them, a smile on her face. "Welcome, ladies," she said. "I've been expecting you." Isabel's eyes widened as she took in Sophia's confident demeanor. She was surrounded by two burly men who looked like they hadn't smiled in years. Rachel stepped forward, her eyes locked on Sophia. "It's over," she said. "We know everything." Sophia chuckled, a cold, mirthless sound. "I doubt that," she said. "You see, I've been playing a little game with you, Isabel. A game of cat and mouse." Isabel's heart sank as she realized the truth. Sophia had been manipulating her all along, using her to get to Liam. "And now, it's time for the final act," Sophia said, her eyes glinting with excitement. The two men moved forward, their eyes fixed on Isabel and Rachel. Isabel knew they had to act fast if they wanted to survive. Rachel grabbed Isabel's arm and pulled her backward, toward the window. "We have to get out of here," she whispered. Isabel nodded, her heart racing. They smashed through the window and landed on the fire escape, the cool night air rushing past them. As they climbed down, Isabel could hear Sophia's laughter echoing through the night. She knew they weren't safe yet. They hit the ground running, their feet pounding the pavement. They didn't dare look back, fearing what they might see. Finally, they reached the safety of a nearby alleyway. Rachel pulled out her phone and dialed a number. "We need backup," she said, her voice low and urgent. "Sophia's got us outnumbered." Isabel leaned against the wall, her chest heaving. She knew they couldn't stay here for long. As they waited for backup to arrive, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia was still out there, watching them, waiting for her moment to strike. And then, just as they were starting to relax, Isabel heard a noise behind them. She turned to see Sophia standing in the entrance of the alleyway, a smile on her face. "You can't escape me that easily," Sophia said, her eyes glinting with malice. Isabel knew they were in trouble. Sophia had them cornered, and backup was still minutes away. Rachel stepped forward, her eyes locked on Sophia. "We're not going down without a fight," she said, her voice steady. Sophia chuckled, a cold, mirthless sound. "I'm counting on it," she said. As Sophia took a step closer, Isabel could see the malice in her eyes. She knew they had to act fast if they wanted to survive. Rachel pulled out a small canister from her pocket and sprayed it directly at Sophia. The canister emitted a loud, high-pitched noise that disoriented Sophia, giving them just enough time to make a run for it. They sprinted down the alleyway, their feet pounding the pavement. Sophia recovered quickly and gave chase, her footsteps closing in on them. As they turned a corner, Isabel spotted a taxi cab parked by the curb. Without hesitation, Rachel yanked open the door and pushed Isabel inside. "Get us out of here," Rachel yelled at the driver, who looked startled but quickly hit the gas. The taxi screeched away from the curb, leaving Sophia standing in the middle of the street, her face twisted in rage. Isabel breathed a sigh of relief as they sped away from the scene. But she knew they couldn't relax yet. Sophia would stop at nothing to get what she wanted. Rachel pulled out her phone and dialed a number. "We need to get to a safe house," she said. "Somewhere Sophia can't find us." Isabel nodded, her mind racing with thoughts of Liam and Sophia's true intentions. She knew they had to stay one step ahead of Sophia if they wanted to survive. As the taxi drove through the city streets, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced out the window, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Rachel noticed her concern. "What's wrong?" she asked. Isabel hesitated. "I just feel like we're being watched," she said. Rachel's expression turned serious. "We need to be careful," she said. "Sophia has eyes and ears everywhere." Isabel nodded, her heart racing with anticipation. She knew they were in for a long and dangerous night. As they drove through the city, Isabel spotted a black SUV following them. She nudged Rachel, who turned to look. "It's Sophia," Rachel said, her voice low and urgent. "We need to lose her." The taxi driver, sensing their urgency, sped up, weaving through traffic. But the SUV kept pace, its occupants determined to catch up. Isabel knew they had to think fast if they wanted to shake Sophia's goons. She spotted a narrow alleyway up ahead and pointed it out to Rachel. "Take the alleyway," Isabel yelled at the driver. The taxi screeched into the alleyway, the SUV hot on their heels. But Isabel had a plan. She spotted a dumpster up ahead and pointed it out to Rachel. Ram the dumpster, Isabel yelled. The taxi driver, sensing their desperation, floored it, ramming the dumpster and sending trash flying everywhere. The SUV slammed on its brakes, giving them just enough time to escape. As they emerged from the alleyway, Isabel spotted a police car up ahead. She breathed a sigh of relief as the taxi driver pulled over, and they were finally safe. But as they stepped out of the taxi, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia was still out there, watching and waiting. And she knew that their ordeal was far from over. As they stepped out of the taxi, Isabel and Rachel were greeted by two police officers who quickly ushered them into the safety of the police car. Isabel breathed a sigh of relief as the police car pulled away from the curb. They were finally safe. But as they drove through the city streets, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia was still out there, watching and waiting. Rachel seemed to sense her unease. "We're safe now," she said, putting a reassuring hand on Isabel's arm. Isabel nodded, trying to calm her racing thoughts. But she knew that Sophia was not one to give up easily. As they arrived at the police station, Isabel and Rachel were greeted by a familiar face, Detective James, the officer who had been investigating Liam's disappearance. "Isabel, thank God you're safe," he said, his eyes scanning her face. "We've been looking everywhere for you." Isabel smiled weakly, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Detective," she said. Detective James nodded, his expression serious. "We need to get you into protective custody," he said. "Sophia is still out there, and we don't know what she's capable of." Isabel nodded, knowing that she had no choice. She was in grave danger, and she needed the police's protection. As they led her away, Isabel couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. Would Sophia be caught? Would Liam be found? And what would happen to her? Would she ever be able to go back to her normal life? The questions swirled in her mind as she was led into the safety of the police station. But for now, she was safe. And that was all that mattered. As she settled into the protective custody room, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia was still out there, watching and waiting. And she knew that she would never be able to rest easy until Sophia was brought to justice. But for now, she was safe. And that was all that mattered. The next morning, Isabel woke up to the sound of Detective James's voice. "Isabel, we've got some news," he said, his eyes serious. Isabel sat up, her heart racing. "What is it?" she asked. Detective James hesitated before speaking. "We've found Liam," he said. "But he's not okay." Isabel's heart sank as she processed the news. Liam was alive, but he was hurt. "What happened to him?" she asked, her voice shaking. Detective James's expression was grim. "Sophia had him," he said. "But he managed to escape. He's in the hospital now." Isabel nodded, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. Liam was alive, and he was safe. But as she thought about Sophia, Isabel's expression hardened. Sophia was still out there, and she needed to be brought to justice. "I want to see Liam," Isabel said, her voice firm. Detective James nodded. "I'll take you to the hospital," he said. As they drove to the hospital, Isabel's mind was racing with thoughts of Liam and Sophia. She knew that she had to see Liam to make sure he was okay. And she knew that she had to make sure Sophia paid for what she had done. The hospital loomed ahead, its imposing structure a reminder of the ordeal that Liam had endured. Isabel's heart was racing as she stepped out of the car. She was about to see Liam, to make sure he was okay. and she was about to start her journey to bring Sophia to justice. As Isabel stepped into the hospital room, she was met with a sight that took her breath away. Liam was lying in the bed, his eyes closed, his face pale. Isabel's heart sank as she rushed to his side. "Liam," she whispered, her voice shaking. Liam's eyes flickered open, and he smiled weakly. "Isabel," he whispered back. Isabel took his hand, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. He was alive. He was safe. "How are you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's eyes clouded over. "I was so scared, Isabel," he said. "Sophia had me. She was going to kill me." Isabel's grip on his hand tightened. "You're safe now," she said. "Sophia will never hurt you again." Liam's eyes locked on hers. "I'm sorry, Isabel," he said. "I'm so sorry for everything." Isabel's heart melted at the sight of Liam's tears. "You have nothing to be sorry for," she said. "You're the victim here." Liam's gaze dropped, and he nodded slowly. "I know," he said, "but I feel so guilty. If only I had seen the signs earlier." Isabel's grip on his hand tightened. "You can't blame yourself, Liam," she said. "Sophia is a master manipulator. She fooled us all." Liam's eyes locked on hers again, and he nodded slowly. "You're right," he said. "I just want to make sure you're safe." Isabel smiled, feeling a wave of love wash over her. "I'm safe now," she said. "Thanks to you." As they sat there, holding hands, Isabel knew that she had found her strength again. She was ready to face Sophia, to bring her to justice. And she knew that she had Liam by her side, to support her every step of the way. Just then, Detective James walked into the room, a serious expression on his face. "Isabel, we need to talk," he said. Isabel's heart sank, wondering what new development had arisen. She squeezed Liam's hand and stood up, following Detective James out of the room. As they walked down the hospital corridor, Detective James turned to her. "We've got some news," he said. "Sophia's been spotted. We think she's heading out of the city." Isabel's eyes narrowed. "Where is she going?" she asked. Detective James's expression was grim. "We're not sure, but we think she's going to try and escape." Isabel's heart racing. She knew what she had to do. She was going to follow Sophia, to bring her to justice once and for all. "I'm coming with you," she said, her voice firm. Detective James's eyes widened in surprise. "Isabel, I don't think that's a good idea," he said. But Isabel was resolute. She was going to see this through, no matter what. "I'm coming with you," she repeated, her voice firm. And with that, Isabel and Detective James set off on a perilous journey to track down Sophia and bring her to justice. As they followed Sophia's trail, Isabel couldn't help but feel a sense of determination wash over her. She was finally going to bring Sophia to justice, and she was going to make sure that she paid for everything she had done. Detective James glanced over at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of concern and admiration. "You're a tough one, Isabel," he said. "I'll give you that." Isabel smiled, her eyes never leaving the road ahead. "I've had to be," she said. "Sophia's been pushing me to my limits for months." Detective James nodded, his expression serious. "We're getting close," he said. "I can feel it." Isabel's heart skipped a beat as she saw Sophia's car up ahead. They were closing in on her. As they followed Sophia's car, Isabel could feel the tension building inside her. She was finally going to confront Sophia, and she was going to make sure that she paid for everything she had done. But as they turned a corner, Isabel's heart sank. Sophia's car was gone. Where did she go? Isabel asked, her voice filled with frustration. Detective James scanned the area, his eyes narrowing. I don't know, he said, but we'll find her. Isabel nodded, her determination renewed. She was not going to give up now. She was going to find Sophia, and she was going to bring her to justice. As they searched the area, Isabel's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her heart racing as she saw a text from an unknown number. You'll never catch me, the message read. Isabel's eyes narrowed as she realized that the message was from Sophia. She was taunting her, trying to throw her off her trail. But Isabel was not going to be deterred. She was going to find Sophia, and she was going to bring her to justice. With renewed determination, Isabel turned to Detective James. Let's keep searching, she said. We're not going to give up now. Detective James nodded, his expression serious. We'll find her, Isabel, he said. I promise. And with that, Isabel and Detective James continued their search for Sophia, determined to bring her to justice once and for all. As they continued their search, Isabel's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from an unknown number. Hello. Isabel answered, her heart racing. Isabel, it's Sophia, the voice on the other end said, her tone dripping with malice. I see you're still trying to catch me. Isabel's grip on the phone tightened. Sophia, you're not going to get away with this, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Sophia laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. Oh, I think I will, she said. You see, I've been planning this for a long time, and I've taken precautions. Isabel's mind was racing. What did Sophia mean? What precautions had she taken? Sophia, where are you? Isabel demanded, trying to keep her cool. Sophia laughed again. You'll never find me, she said. But I'll give you a hint. Look for me where you least expect it. And with that, the line went dead. Isabel turned to Detective James, her eyes wide with concern. Sophia's playing games with us, she said. Detective James's expression was grim. We need to be careful, he said. Sophia's not going to give up easily. Isabel nodded, her mind racing with thoughts of Sophia's next move. She knew that Sophia was unpredictable and that she would stop at nothing to get what she wanted. As they continued their search, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia was watching her, waiting for her to make her next move. And then, just as they were about to give up for the day, Isabel spotted something that made her heart skip a beat. A figure lurking in the shadows. Isabel's eyes narrowed as she took in the figure's features. It was a woman with long blonde hair and a cold, calculating gaze. Isabel's heart sank as she realized who the woman was. Sophia. Isabel turned to Detective James, her voice barely above a whisper. I think I've found her, she said. Detective James's eyes locked on the figure, his expression grim. Let's go, he said, his hand on his gun. As they approached Sophia, Isabel could feel her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that this was it, the final showdown, and she was ready. As they approached Sophia, Isabel could see the calculation in her eyes. Sophia knew she had been caught, but she wasn't going to go down without a fight. Isabel, Sophia said, her voice dripping with malice. I've been expecting you. Isabel's eyes locked on Sophia's, her heart pounding in her chest. It's over, Sophia, she said. You're not going to get away with this. Sophia smiled, a cold, mirthless smile. We'll see about that, she said, her hand slipping into her pocket. Detective James stepped forward, his gun drawn. Sophia, don't move, he said. But Sophia just laughed, a cold, mocking sound. You'll never take me alive, she said, her eyes glinting with malice. And with that, Sophia pulled out a small gun from her pocket and aimed it at Isabel. Isabel's heart stopped as she stared down the barrel of the gun. She knew she was staring death in the face. But Detective James was quick. He lunged forward, grabbing Sophia's wrist and twisting it until the gun fell to the ground. Sophia screamed in rage as Detective James pinned her to the ground. You'll never win, she spat at Isabel. I'll always come back. Isabel shook her head, feeling a sense of closure wash over her. You're not going to hurt anyone else, Sophia, she said. It's over. As Detective James read Sophia her rights and hauled her away, Isabel felt a sense of relief wash over her. It was finally over. Sophia was behind bars and she was safe. But as she turned to walk away, Isabel caught a glimpse of something that made her heart skip a beat. A small piece of paper on the ground, with a message scrawled on it in red ink. You'll never be safe. Isabel's heart sank as she realized that Sophia's reign of terror might not be over after all. Isabel's eyes widened as she stared at the message on the ground. She felt a chill run down her spine as she realized that Sophia might have had an accomplice, someone who was still out there, watching and waiting. Detective James noticed her expression and followed her gaze to the piece of paper. His eyes narrowed as he read the message. What does it mean? Isabel asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Detective James's expression was grim. It means that Sophia might have had help, he said. Someone who is still out there, watching and waiting. Isabel's heart sank as she realized the implications. She had thought that she was finally safe, that Sophia was behind bars and couldn't hurt her anymore. But now, she wasn't so sure. What are we going to do? Isabel asked, feeling a sense of panic rising up inside her. Detective James's expression was reassuring. We'll investigate, see if we can find any leads on who might have written this message, he said. And in the meantime, we'll make sure you're protected. Isabel nodded, feeling a sense of gratitude towards Detective James. She knew that she could trust him to keep her safe. As they walked back to the police station, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She kept looking over her shoulder, expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows. But there was never anyone there. When they arrived at the police station, Isabel was greeted by a familiar face, Liam, her husband. He was sitting in the waiting room, looking anxious and worried. Isabel, thank God you're safe, he said, rushing over to her and wrapping his arms around her. Isabel hugged him back, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. She was safe, and she was with the people she loved. But as she looked over Liam's shoulder, she saw something that made her heart skip a beat. A figure, lurking in the shadows, watching and waiting. Isabel's eyes narrowed as she tried to get a better look at the figure. But it was too far away, and she couldn't make out any features. Who's that? Isabel asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam followed her gaze, but he didn't see anything.
Who's what? He asked.
Isabel hesitated, wondering if she had just imagined the whole thing. But she knew what she saw, and she knew that she wasn't going to let her guard down again. "I thought I saw someone," Isabel said, her voice firm. "Someone who was watching us." Liam's expression turned serious. "We'll look into it," he said. "But in the meantime, let's get you somewhere safe." Isabel nodded, feeling a sense of gratitude towards Liam. She knew that she could trust him to keep her safe. As they walked out of the police station, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She kept looking over her shoulder, expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows. But there was never anyone there, or so she thought. As they walked to the car, Isabel's senses were on high alert. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, following her every move. Liam noticed her unease and put a reassuring hand on her arm. "Hey, it's okay," he said. "You're safe now. Sophia's behind bars, and we're going to make sure you're protected." Isabel nodded, trying to calm her racing thoughts. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As they reached the car, Isabel noticed a small piece of paper on the windshield. She walked over to investigate and found a note with a single sentence: "You'll never be safe." Isabel's heart skipped a beat as she felt a chill run down her spine. She turned to Liam, her eyes wide with fear. "Liam, look at this," she said, her voice trembling. Liam's expression turned grim as he read the note. "We need to get out of here," he said. "Now." They quickly got into the car and drove away, Isabel's heart racing with fear. She knew that she wasn't safe, that someone was still out there, watching and waiting. As they drove, Isabel's mind was racing with questions. Who was behind the notes? Was it someone who was working with Sophia, or was it someone new? She didn't have any answers, but she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't going to let fear take over her life. She was going to fight back, no matter what it took. "Liam, I need to tell you something," Isabel said, her voice firm. "What is it?" Liam asked, his eyes locked on the road. "I'm not going to let whoever is doing this scare me," Isabel said. "I'm going to fight back." Liam's expression turned serious. "I'm with you, Isabel," he said. "We'll face this together." Isabel nodded, feeling a sense of determination wash over her. She was ready to face whatever came next head-on. But as they drove, Isabel couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She kept looking over her shoulder, expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows. And then, just as they were approaching their destination, Isabel saw something that made her heart skip a beat. A black SUV, following them. Isabel's eyes locked on the SUV, her heart racing with fear. She knew that they were in danger, that whoever was behind the notes was closing in. "Liam, look!" Isabel shouted, pointing at the SUV. Liam's eyes flicked to the rear-view mirror, and his expression turned grim. "Hold on," he said, his voice tight with tension. And with that, Liam floored it, speeding away from the SUV as fast as he could. Isabel's heart was racing as she held on for dear life, her eyes locked on the SUV as it disappeared into the distance. But she knew that they weren't safe yet. Whoever was behind the notes was still out there, watching and waiting. And Isabel was determined to find out who it was. It had been 6 months since the ordeal with Sophia had ended. Isabel and Liam had finally been able to put the past behind them and start rebuilding their lives. The police had never caught the person who had been sending Isabel the threatening notes, but they had finally been able to identify the SUV that had been following them. It had been rented by a mysterious individual who had paid in cash. Despite the lingering uncertainty, Isabel had finally been able to find some sense of closure. She had realized that she couldn't let fear control her life, and she had started to rebuild her sense of security and trust. Liam had been a rock for her throughout the entire ordeal, and their relationship had grown stronger as a result. They had finally been able to start a new chapter in their lives, free from the shadow of Sophia's manipulation. As Isabel sat on the beach, watching the sunset with Liam by her side, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. She knew that she would always carry the scars of the past with her, but she also knew that she was strong enough to overcome them. "Thank you," Isabel said, turning to Liam with tears in her eyes. "For what?" Liam asked, his expression soft with concern. "For being here for me," Isabel said. "For helping me through the darkest time of my life." Liam smiled, his eyes filled with love. "I'll always be here for you," he said, "through thick and thin." Isabel nodded, feeling a sense of gratitude and love wash over her. She knew that she would always cherish this moment, this feeling of peace and happiness. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Isabel knew that she was finally free. Free from the past, free from the fear, and free to start a new chapter in her life.